All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Rethink Green's second attempt at discussing the circular economy. Here I have Laura Filishtan of Rethink Green, our green buildings coordinator. I always get the title wrong, Laura. What is it exactly?
Green Building Research Coordinator.
There it is, the research that I always miss, probably telling of how I think. But nonetheless, this is part of the Waste Reduction Week, a project of several individual organizations in Greater Sudbury, including obviously Rethink Green, Plastic Free Greater Sudbury, Greater Sudbury Public Library, the Nickel Refillery, sorry, and the Junction Creek Stewardship Committee. So obviously National Waste Reduction Week is a national movement, but we've all decided to hop on. And yesterday, on October 19th, was Circular Economy Day, but we had some little troubles with Facebook Live, so we decided to put the video today. This is pre-recorded as opposed to a live chat, so we do invite you to put your questions in the comments below, and we will absolutely return every question or comment. I'll even make Laura do it because she's the expert here. The reason we brought Laura along with us today is because Laura is a bit of an expert on circular economy, and I am the learned student who will understand, and she'll take us this journey together. So Laura, the first question out of the hop is, what is the circular economy?
Right, so the circular economy has been inspired by several different schools of thought, but it's really inspired by the way our natural world works. And so, like the name circular economy suggests, it's a way of organizing our economy, specifically slowing, narrowing, and closing resource loops. And if I can borrow from the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, they kind of summed up the principles really well. And the first one being, we're going to design out waste so that the products are more sustainable from the get-go. We're going to keep products and materials in use, extending their lifetime of when they're high-value products. And we're going to regenerate our natural systems. And so the more you learn about the philosophy, the more you see that it's something that can be scalable from the way you live your individual life, to the way you run your business, to your local economy, to the world. And it's also something that has a lot of philosophical roots about just how you go about living your day-to-day life and making decisions.
That speaks to me a lot in regard, like you really carried it from philosophical roots to sort of the larger scale of production. Like it sounds to me like a circular economy has a role in every stage of a product's life cycle. And it sounds like also how we live as well. Am I right in assuming that?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's really an iterative process. So for example, you go to design your product, you think about how you're going to use the product, you think about what material would be good for that product and how it's going to be used, but also how will that material work in the long run when the product is no longer its valuable use? Does that material allow it to be repaired throughout its use, to be extended? Is there something that that material can then be turned into later on to give it a second life? And so you kind of go back and forth, and it makes you think about your own life and saying like, okay, I have all this, paper that I'm accumulating. What else can I do with it? Or how can I reduce the amount? And find all those connections that we haven't really been trained to think about in our current system. So it's really a shift in the way you think, and it's difficult, but it's also really exciting.
Well, you're right on that, and the way we've been trained to think, because as an environmentalist and someone who believes in a sustainable way of life, I've been trained to think about recycling properly, making sure that it goes back to a recycling production piece. But like, as opposed to even in my own philosophy in life, buying a product that would have more than one use, I don't think like that necessarily. And I don't think about, after I'm done with it this way, can I transition to this? I think it goes in the blue box. Great. I know what I can recycle. I know what I can't recycle. We're done. We're good. All right. I'm a good guy. So it sounds like it's a more involved process than just simply recycling. If that's what I'm getting at. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of people kind of think it's just a new way of saying reduce, reuse, recycle. And it is, but it's also then some. So it's not just improving our linear model, it's a systemic shift in the way we organize our society. And so it's a much more like a deeper change. And it's not just that little improvement, it's totally reorganizing how we operate and how we think.
That's incredible. So let's look at some larger examples. So and we'll scale down from there. So larger examples of this. What might that be that we might have seen or recognized? Now, obviously, Northern Ontario, we have a range of industry, small and large, but circular economy sounds like it's bigger than just the north. It sounds like it's a provincial piece. So where are some examples of manufacturers, doesn't be Northern Ontario, that we might see or hear of something like this from a business perspective?
Yeah, there's a couple different examples. So one that I think that Northern Ontario could relate to is some European mining companies and recycling companies. And so obviously Northern Ontario, we have a really strong mining presence, but that knowledge can also be pivoted to really improve resource recovery of materials through wasted products and then giving those new life. But it could also be if you're looking at, say, large companies like Caterpillar, which is an American company, I believe, they have a whole system with their global platform so that they have a deposit you pay on the core parts of the machine. And when you return it, they inspect it, determine the quality, and then offer you a refund. And then they use those core parts in the future machines, or they retrofit and repair old machines and sell them for a reduced price. So it's, opening up new markets for them because they're able to sell products at a cheaper price, but it's also keeping the materials that we extracted from the earth to make those machines in operation longer. So it's win-win for the planet, and it offers new business channels for you. So it's a good business model as well.
What I love about this Caterpillar part repair return, I feel like it's like the bottle deposit return of the mining industry. You know what I mean? Like, get 5 cents back for your bottle, get another $2,000 back for your battery. Like, I feel like it's just like that. Talking about scalability, right? Also,
Yeah, absolutely.
everyone should return their bottles, right?
Yes. Yes.
um, it's interesting you talk about the MineCat piece, because actually, I actually have an example from Northern Ontario that, now that you talk about it, I didn't even think of it. I had the honor of meeting a gentleman from Manitoulin Island, and he's an engineer, and he thought to himself, we have all these old mining equipment batteries that have a life of 20 years past when they're used in the mines. So he actually has gone overseas to Europe, and this entire mining community is now being powered, or he's setting up a system to power this entire mining community off of these batteries, these bulk of batteries, all the lighting in the community, pretty much everything. And anything that the batteries can't cover is going to be renewable energy, solar, that sort of thing. So talking about that circular economy, it's funny, like you mentioned it now, that I'm already thinking of examples that I didn't realize that I knew already. And this is a guy that's from Northern Ontario.
Yeah, exactly. And there's little examples everywhere that, you might have just thought of like, oh, that's a cool business idea. But that really embrace the philosophy, whether people really realize that or not. And so definitely there are business cases, and we'll have to create new business models as well. But it's not like this is something that's going to kill our economy. It actually expands it, and it can keep money in economies because it closes those loops. So, my business now provides products for your business, you sell that to them, and then it keeps money in the economy, but also grows jobs and uses the same amount of resources, so it protects our environment.
So why do you think this is a topic that isn't super well known? It sounds like a smart business model to me. I don't have a degree in business, but it sounds to me that if I can keep money in my system and reduce waste, I'm going to save some dollars. So why do you think this isn't like well known and just kind of coming out in the past, I don't know how long years?
I think it's been, like I said, it's been based in a bunch of different schools of thought. So the idea has been around for a really long time, going back to like the cradle to cradle concept. It's similar ideas. And certainly you're starting to see in like policy documents from governments, you're seeing the word circular economy pop up everywhere now. If you're looking for it, you'll see it. But in terms of on an individual day-to-day life, why we don't hear about it as much, I think it's just because it's difficult. It takes thought. It's not the easy solution. So, it's right now like that debate between, do I order it on Amazon, pay a little bit extra, but get the product tomorrow? Or do I spend the time looking for a solution in my community, which might take 2 weeks, but would be better? So it's that trade-off right now between the time and cost, and that transaction cost there, because we don't have the system in place, right? It's a change. We're in the process of changing. And so right now, it's a little burdensome to find those connections, to find those partnerships, to really think about how do I do this better. And it's, it can give you a bit of a brain freeze because you're like, I'm not used to thinking about this.
Yeah.
And that can be overwhelming. But I think, as people start to hear about it and start to think about it and start seeing all those connections in their lives and examples as they pop up, that's going to become easier. And then it will be something that can just be how we live.
Well, and you talked about this sort of, do I get a product on Amazon? Do we get it locally? This really harkens to Christmas. I know everyone in my circles are like, well, we better start ordering online now because it's going to be an Amazon Christmas. And I'm not hearing what I want to hear, which is I better start looking in the community now for products and things that we can get here, and not order online, and keep that money in the community. And I think, so it sounds to me like that's also circular economy as well.
Yeah.
So that's really, really intense, actually. How do you suggest people start shifting that mind frame locally, or even business wise? Like how do you ease into that? Or just gotta tough it out?
I think, you just start small. Like you start by looking at what waste or what inputs you're using, what you're producing, like what are your byproducts of what you're doing or how you're living your life. And then you start to just think about it. Just think about it first, and then make small changes, or find a company that you think could use your product and see if they're interested in partnering. Like there's a company in Toronto called Spent Goods, and they use the byproduct of beer, the grains there, to make bread. And then they discovered that they could use that bread to make more beer. And so it just goes in a circle: bread, beer, bread, beer, bread, beer. And
I don't even know how the science of that works, but that sounds magical.
it does. And I've tried the bread. It's good. It's really delicious. So, it could be sort of thing like that. You'd be like, you hear about that example and you go, I run a bakery. Bob down the street has a brewery. Maybe there's a partnership there. And just starting small and making those connections and thinking through the business case. I think the first step, is just thinking about it and looking at examples.
I mean, I don't know about Bob and his bread factory buddy. Or I just think if those two guys ever hung out, they'd be the happiest guys. One guy has beer, one guy has bread, two foods that make people the most happy outside of chocolate. Like you find a chocolate guy, you're set.
Good. You're set for
Yeah,
life.
I know, man. Like I don't know how those guys hang out, but I want in that social group.
Yeah, you should. And when you join them, let them know that there's actually a bunch of tools online to help you conceptualize how you design for circularity and how you do your business models. So you can check out like the Ellen MacArthur Foundation. They have a design toolkit. Circulytics will give you a bunch of examples. So there's tons of information out there to help you on the process. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. So don't worry, Bob has one too many beers. You'll still find the answer.
I like we're starting to make a lot of assumptions about Bob and his friend circle about how much he dips into the business. We're gonna put those links below, guys. That's some great that there's tools for that, so you can check that out for sure. And it's funny because I like as a member of Rethink Green and Green Economy North program, we have some breweries, one of them being Split Rail on Manitoulin Island, who gives their leftover products, their byproducts to local farms to go into feed. And I thought that was incredible too. And that goes, obviously the animals eats it, and da 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 da. And I never thought about them making bread. So next time I'm there, I'm going to tell them to make some loaves and start talking to their bakery friend, right?
Definitely an option. But giving it to the farm is a good use too.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I think we've really explored what circular economy is. Laura, why don't we how do you personally contribute to the circular? I think I'm putting you on the spot here. You always ask the speaker, are you living the way you're talking? So how do you contribute to the circular economy?
That is a good question, and that's really difficult to get started. So I mean, I'm really happy I recently moved to Guelph out of my condo building in Toronto, and my condo building didn't have compost. So right now I'm just pumped that I have an organic waste bin again and get to use that to do some good with my food scraps. But I really try and buy secondhand as much as possible. I love going to thrift stores and finding furniture. So I think about 90% of the things in my apartment have a second life. The table I'm resting my computer on, the dresser that's beside me, they're as old as my grandma. In fact, it was my grandma's dresser. I just keep refinishing it and trying to do sustainable transportation. So yesterday, I'll send you a picture, Dave. I got a little trailer to attach to my bike.
Oh, nice
trailer, which is a local company that's won some awards internationally, and I'm going to be able to haul so many groceries. So many groceries, which I also try to buy in bulk when possible. And there's a local refillery store for like soaps and detergents and stuff like that. So just doing those small things like that. And if I ever start my own business, I'll make it a circular design plan. But
I am very excited. Well, I like how I started by asking you, how do you live circular? And then suddenly, like, you have more examples than you know what to do with. Like, like you were nervous going in. Like, am I doing enough? And I also love that grandparents, the original creators of circular economy.
yeah,
I
it's kind of funny because we kind of are just like going back to grandma's way. I actually bought a book. The title I'm not the biggest fan, but it's basically about it's the Frugal Housewife. That's what it's called.
Oh
And
yeah, okay. I can see the title's problematic. Yeah.
yeah, but it has all these like, they really valued frugality and making the most of everything you had. And we're so used to just being like, oh, dispose of this, get something new, that it's really inspiring to me to be thinking about like, how I can use the most of my food scraps, how I can use the most of, old t-shirts or old bed sheets.
And I think as we live in municipalities in Northern Ontario, for instance, we are, reducing, and maybe you can speak to how it is in Guelph. In Northern Ontario, we're reducing the amount of garbage pickup that we're going to have. It went from 2 bags to 1 bag to 1 bag every 2 weeks. And it is, if you maximize and use your composting services, which the city provides, and really don't waste, it's very doable, I think. And so as we really shift down to less and less waste and fill, I think the circular economy, these premises of reusing and reducing are really going to be essential to make sure your lawn isn't full of garbage.
Yeah.
Think about that, right?
And that's, like that the individual definitely plays a role there, but companies too. Like if all of the products that are available to you in your community come in tons of packaging that you can't compost or you can't recycle, that's very hard for you to do your part. So companies really have to step up too and change the way they give goods or sell goods, and even just putting it more as a service and improving access than always selling a product. And
Mhm.
so and buying local, so you avoid that shipping and the packaging that comes with that, and the air and shipping emissions that come with that. So it has to be the individual, but also the organizations, the businesses, and the governments. Everyone has to do their part.
I guess the circular economy also includes the circular process of people responsible, the
Yeah.
end user, the business, and the city, or the government, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm trying to think about how I live sustainably, or at least for the circular economy. And I absolutely, I mean, it's a lot of the same stuff you do, compost. I'm using reusable bags again now that they're allowed after we are in COVID, right?
Yeah.
Stay away from that plastic cutlery. Always buying secondhand as much as I can, that sort of thing. And it makes dollars and cents. So, sometimes people are doing it without even realizing it. So, and if I own a business, which I won't, but if I did, man, I'd make it a circular economy. So I'd make a circular economic plan for
Yeah.
sure. So I think we're kind of coming to the end of this discussion, and I think I've learned a lot about the circular economy. I hope everyone else has. For those who want to know more information, check out the links below. And explore your own community. Share in your own community, if you're watching this outside of Sudbury, what your community is doing for the circular economy. If you're in Sudbury, ask questions and share what you think Sudbury is doing. And of course, the Sudbury, check out the Sudbury SEEP at the Greater Sudbury website to check out what they're doing in regards to become carbon neutral, which certainly will have practices, or the net zero, sorry, which will certainly have practices for that will support the carbon circular economy. So Laura Philshan, thank you so much, all the way from Guelph, for checking in today. And everyone, thank you so much once again. This is Waste Reduction Week. As thanks so much for Plastic Free Greater Sudbury, the Greater Sudbury Public Library, the Nickel City Refillery, Junction Creek Stewardship Committee, and everyone watching.